Well, Eric, to kick things off here this week, of course, just let's dive into those temperatures. Got a lot of, mixed media reports or social media reports on this frost that kind of swept through upper parts of the Midwest this weekend and kind of lingering effects, but kind of talk about that and what the impacts were, as well as might see some temperature swings here moving forward this week.
Yeah. Temperature swing is an understatement, Dawson. I love this map. This is the last 10 days of August and the first 7 days of September. And everywhere you see that darkest shading, these are climate reporting districts that when you average the temperatures, okay, this is now the new coldest last 10 days, first 7 days of August and September on record. Now, we did not get a frost, way down here, but we did have over the weekend, multiple times, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and then again this morning, we had places that did get down there and touch those mid to low 30s. I'll show you one of them, which is here in the Red River Valley. There's a mesonet in North Dakota, and it's called the Indon setup. And if you look, there were a lot of 31s, 32s, here some 30s, and then some spots that were very cold in north central North Dakota. So this is the Red River Valley that we just hit with a frost event. And I saw in the northwest corner of Iowa, they were down to like 37, 36. There might be some patchy frost there. We hit central Michigan with a frost this morning. Parts of Wisconsin were frosted. Minnesota, parts of Minnesota hit it as well. And I just, we're going to sit here and wonder how much damage was done. So if I understand it right, and this is not my area of expertise, I'm thinking more about soybeans at this point, given that I think a lot of the corn could probably take this and not have major adverse effects. I could be wrong, and someone might call in and tell you, hey, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But the soybeans, I think if they're in like R5, R6, we have problems. If they're near R7, the problems tend to be in the much closer to a 5% issue rather than a 25% issue with yield loss. So that's going to be the big thing. But the temperature swing is 100% right. And by the way, did you notice how hot the West was? I mean, we're breaking records in the Northwest. And if you look at yesterday's satellite data, this is this morning. Let me just take you back, okay? As you go through yesterday, a lot of monsoonal storms, but look at that monster right there. Huge fire in California after just repeated weeks of excessive heat. And that's just one. We've got fires up and down the West Coast into British Columbia, which, by the way, last week, parts of British Columbia set new all-time record high temperatures. Just incredible to see this. But it's all about to break down. And it's starting here. Well, there's a little hurricane that's going to go north of Hawaii called Kiko, but I'm watching that guy. This is part of a sequence of events that's going to start to unravel the blocked pattern in the Pacific. And you can already begin to see the better flow coming across and this split taking shape. That split's going to move into the interior of Canada. And what that's essentially going to do is it's going to start to drive the pattern away from a block in the Pacific to more of a central North America block. So the jet stream is going to come screaming through here and screaming through there and block up here and here. And this one is going to take these temperatures in the midsection of the country through the roof as we go forward in the forecast. So after weeks of excessive heat west and cold east, watch the forecast pattern. Ready? This is today. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Look at the heat. This is 90s coming back into the Corn Belt, 93, 95 around St. Louis, while the West is now cool again. That's by Friday getting into Saturday. Same thing. Sunday, just excessive heat coming into this area. And some of the forecast models are trying to take these high temperatures in this area, not to the low 90s, but to the upper 90s. And what a flip. That's a 60-degree swing in temperatures in some places over a short amount of time. And they're trying to keep it around. Like that's the next 5 days. This is day 5 through 10. Look how cool the West is, but where that ridge is anchored, it's going to be hot all in this corridor. That's day 5 through 10, which gets us out there to the 18th. And then this goes beyond all the way out fully through week 2. So we've been talking. I'm wearing long sleeves today, man. Like it's cold, and I will be, wanting to wear like a tank top or something next week, given how hot it's going to be, even by the end of this week. So the other question is, with the change in the temperatures, what are we going to do to the fact that we've had major parts of the Mississippi, Missouri, and Ohio Valley, plus sections of the Southeast, plus sections of the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northern Plains so very, very dry? Because that's the last 14 days. Over the last 30 days, there is an epicenter of drought developing in this corridor and in that corridor as well. And if you look at it, the soil moisture values are very low on the major river systems, the Ohio, the Missouri, and the Mississippi. And in fact, this morning, the Mississippi was nearly 4 feet below low stage, which means it has dropped 44 feet since flooding in April. And we're only 3 feet off of where we were last September. And if you don't remember, last September was bone dry, so was October. So there's a lot of worry about the Mississippi River. We better get in and talk about it. Over the next week, very limited chances of rainfall in this area. Way better in the Northwest, better into Montana. And some storms this morning in Kansas, you saw them, and some better chances of rain way up north, though. This is like the north woods of Wisconsin that we're talking about. Everywhere inside of this, though, very limited chances. Now, some models are a little overexcited, like the European model. Ready for this? It's attempting, this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week. So not a whole lot going on here between now and then, but into the weekend, this is Saturday, Sunday. Do you see as I rock back and forth over Saturday into Sunday, it's attempting to drop storms into this corridor. And I'm just going to tell you, every time I've seen the models do that, every time I see it, I'm always like, drought begets drought. Don't get overly excited about this. Is the GFS doing it? Not quite, not the same magnitude. So we got to be very careful with this longer term forecast as we think it through. We'd all love a big hurricane, right? I mean, there's even people on the Gulf Coast that are so dry right now, Dawson, they're like, send me a Cat 1. Just something that's not going to knock everything over, but it's at least going to give us the rain. And the Atlantic is pretty quiet right now. There are some indications that out there about 8, 9 days from now, we're going to be watching a couple of areas in the Atlantic get going, but it's all going to be about the position of the Bermuda High. If it's over here toward the Azores, these systems do this, like Aaron did or Fernand did. The Bermuda has to come back over to the west before these systems have a better chance at getting into the Gulf, or the Gulf needs to have its own systems show up. But as a result, I think right now we're not expecting to get much of that out of this. Now, there is one model that's getting kind of aggressive, and I want to show you this one because it's attempting to take a system out of kind of the west coast of Mexico and bring it. Look at this. See these clusters of L's? Some of them are breaking off, going across the Baja into Mexico. And the artificial intelligence model, if I play it out there, let's just go out there. This is this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're not even to that system yet. There it is right there. See it? Next Thursday, the 18th, it's trying to take it through the Baja and turn it into a big system that comes to the midsection of the country and knocks out the drought picture. So that's where your hope lies right now if you're in this drought area. Oh, an East Pacific hurricane curving back, and it's the only model out there that's attempting to do that right now. So what do you end up getting? Well, this is the artificial intelligence model. That's one we just talked about. But this is what the European model looks like. Look at that. Holy cow, that's a lot of dry air in that area. Better storms here, better storms there, better storms here, but not breaking into this region. And the GFS is just as dry in that spot too. So to kind of round this out, like take a look. That is the drought area that we're in. We've seen the drought monitor show expansion in that area. I'm talking about this spot right here, very, very dry right now. And I think we're seeing the top end of the yield come off. So we start off talking about a frost. Now we're talking about drought. And I'm just saying this is not one of those falls that we just ease into it, get the crop harvested and wait. There's a lot of weather variance going on right now that cannot be ignored.
Yeah, I mean, especially too, there's still some, mirroring that we're seeing from last year, specifically when it's talking about, like the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
In a lot of it, I don't know, it seems like the past few years we've talked about almost historically low or historically lower Mississippi River water levels about this time, or at least working into the back half of October.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you look at the longer range forecast, I mean, NOAA's forecast out there through the end of September and the beginning of October, they're drier here too. And I mean, and that forecast is echoed by most major models. Like the new
Mhm.
GFS extended, it's still got this whole area drier. So does the European model, the Canadian model, they're all doing that. Now, is this typical? It is if you've got a La Nina going, which we do. I mean, you can
Mhm.
see the cooler waters, the stronger trade winds. The bigger factor that I'm trying to figure out, Dawson, though, is all this warmth that's here all the way back to Japan. What's it going to do to the jet stream later? Because right now it's really throwing it into this wonky, highly variable state. When we get into winter, is it going to dive into the Northwest and exit Ohio Valley, or is it going to come farther inland and leave through the Northeast? That's going to be the trick to figure out what our winter is going to look like. So by way of segmenting into fall and winter, let's just do that. This is the newest forecast from the European model predicting the behavior of this upcoming La Nina. And the newest one, as I wrote down there, has trended more aggressive on this weak to moderate La Nina rather than just floating through INSO neutral going forward. So what that did was it made the new forecast for October, November, December, guess what? Drier here, but active northwest. It then says November, December, January, December, January, February, light up the Ohio Valley, bring the systems into the Northwest and drive them out this direction, leaving this part, the Sun Belt and the Cotton Belt, over to dryness. And that forecast is being echoed right now by the NMME, which was just released this weekend. That's the October, November, December outlook. This is the November, December, January, and this is the full winter outlook. So can you see it? Wet in the Rockies, active exit here through the Ohio Valley north, dryness in the Cotton Belt, dryness in the Sun Belt. But I'm just going to tell you this, Dawson. Every weather forecast model out there that's going to look at winter is going to say the exact same thing because they all latched on to the fact that in the last month, we've seen a lot of cold water emerge here. They're going to go La Nina, hook onto it, go. And the question is whether or not that's really going to manifest itself. And we're not going to be the only ones worrying about it. South America is going to be talking about this too.
Yeah, and before we get to South America really quick,
Sure.
is the fact that, bringing in, is that just the risk right now, is that we're going to carry over these soil moisture deficits into next year, and we're pretty much banking on the fact that, okay, maybe we might have some better chances of precipitation later on, but we're bringing in a pretty dry fall into that.
If those forecast models verify, yes. But I'll tell you this, we had the same situation last year, and then November came in wet.
Yep.
Then we had a snow drought all winter long. All the snow was down south. And all of us, I told you every week, I'm like, this is a risk factor for drought. This is a risk factor for
Mhm.
drought. But then April
Now
of
we're
this
coming in
year,
with
yeah,
potential record yields.
that's right. You're right. And so it rained in April and rained in May. And then we had storms in June and July. And now the end of August and a lot of September has gone over very, very dry. But it was all a month and a half too late to be this massive problem, right? And that is going to be it. So Dawson, if I've learned anything from this year, it's a reminder that these sub-seasonal to seasonal predictions where you see these big dominating factors, they can change on a dime. I
Mhm.
mean, who back in July was calling for record drought and bone cold air, at the end of August, beginning of September? Nobody was. We certainly weren't. We knew we had chances of a variable pattern. But I went back to my early August forecasts and I said, I think all the way to the end of August, we're going to be seeing much better chances of heat. It wasn't until the second week of August I go, whoa, 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 wrong. That's wrong. It's going to get cold.
Yeah.
So there's no clairvoyance in any of this.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of looking though at the trends, going back to your comment on South America, what are
Sure.
they kind of seeing here? I know for a bit we were seeing a little bit of back and forth on the models, but kind of what can we expect as they're kicking off a lot of their planting season? Corn, they've been getting rolling. Soybeans, there was a report on Bloomberg this morning that Paraná has begun planting soybeans
Yeah.
where they weren't last year at this time.
Yeah, they got the permission to do it early in Parna. But I want to show you this. So I went into that box. I mean, this is roughly around the Cerrado. It includes Mato Grosso as an example. What is most important is how much progress they make in October. So if you look at October total precipitation, go back to World War II and start about 1980, there's been a pretty significant decline on average in the start of the monsoon, which means it's more often coming in fits and starts rather than just coming on and staying on. So what's that to the tune of? That's about 2 inches of net loss. Now, you pick your model, okay? If you're like, wow, I want the monsoon to come in early. Well, look, that's the European model 10-day outlook. It's drier, especially in Paraná where they're forecast. But the European model, every single run is like, no, week two, it's going to rain though. Week two, always week two, it's going to rain. And then you say, well, what about the GFS? The GFS is no, it's late. Look how dry it is for the next 2 weeks. And you can do the same thing with the long range models. The European says, a little drier in Paraná, where they've been able to start. They're starting today in Mato Grosso do Sul, and the rest of the country on September 15th. The European model's like, oh man, Mato Grosso is going to get it, and they're going to go fantastic. They're going to go fast. And then the GFS model's like, no, bone dry. What's right? I'm just going to tell you this. What has to change is the current wind pattern. This is the high pressure cell that lives in the South Atlantic. If that moves up here, so now you've got high pressure off the coast, and the flow doesn't come around and do that, but instead you put that high pressure here and the flow does this, then the monsoon is on. And it's not there today. It's way down here. So where's all your heavy rain? It's down into southern Brazil, northern Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. And that's where we're going to see the wettest conditions. And just thinking this through, let's come back and have a look at the total precip. Paraná, they're probably going to have enough, even though they're a drier signal, to go. They're probably going to go. But I'm just going to make the case that you got to wait until October, fully into October before this matters. And I'm showing you, by the way, the European model, which always wants it to rain in Mato Grosso. So this is just one example of the model discrepancies we've got here. But we'll watch it and, you kind of pay attention to what the model differences are and you pick a winner and pick a loser. And right now, I think the winner is the GFS, not the European.
Yeah, and we just did an audio just this last weekend that we're putting out to subs, and it's like we talked about South America a little bit, and I think the best way to maybe look at South America here in the next weeks moving forward is to watch these videos on a weekly basis just to see what's going on, because it's going to be more about observation than forecast, it seems like, for a lot of things right now.
Dawson, that was the name of the game for 2025 growing season in the US as well. Screw the forecasts. What do we have? And
Exactly.
it sucks because my entire career is based off forecasting, but maybe I should get better at observing. I don't know. Good point to bring up.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I get the frustrations, but at the same time too, I mean, it's just still having that focus on looking at the factors of what's coming ahead. So, I mean, a lot of that is going to be what we're going to be doing here moving forward.
It is, and I'll keep doing it anyway. I don't care. I'm not going to change trajectories now. We're just going to try to get better at what we do.
Well, we always appreciate that. And again, always appreciate your insights for this week, Eric, and have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. See you, Dawson.